several recent cheap fakes actually attack the president for thanking troops. For thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. Instead of talking about the president's performance in office, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
Biden looks like, I mean, come on, guys. The emperor has no clothes. They hate me for telling people that the emperor has no clothes, but my job is in news. We all can see how incredibly old he is. So my point is, for God's sake, pull him. If you don't pull him, we're going to lose to Trump. Why do you want to lose to Trump? Why do you want to give up 10 points? Hate me all you want. And every Democrat says it's my fault. It's people, oh, no, you shouldn't tell people reality. They already see it. You've got to pull them if you want to beat Trump. If you don't want to pull Joe Biden, you're saying, I don't mind losing to Trump. I don't mind losing democracy.
All right, folks. So today we're going to talk about our favorite formerly fake presidential candidate, Cenk Uygur, and how he really has become something of a right-wing asset lately. And I don't mean that he's doing it intentionally. I'm not saying he's some type of undercover conservative by any means. But what I am saying is listen to Cenk Uygur lately. I mean, first of all, he ran a fake primary challenge to Joe Biden, which was funny because he thought he was saving the country. He thought he was trying to get a real progressive elected to the White House. But instead, really what he was doing, although it wasn't super effective, was undermining Joe Biden. And now that he has sadly dropped out of his fake presidential race, all he's been doing 24/7 is basically counter-signaling Joe Biden at every chance he gets. And so you combine that with the fact that every time he's advocating for left-wing ideas, the guy is just such a ridiculous clown. You're racist! You're not a real progressive!
I would legalize bestiality where you are giving, where you are pleasuring the animal.
So, you know, I really do think it is fair to say at this point that every time Cenk Uygur opens his mouth, he is helping out the right. And so I say, keep letting him do interviews, keep platforming him. Heck, I'm going to start a movement here today where we should all try to make Cenk Uygur the new chair of the DNC, because he's always attacking the Democrat establishment and how they work for the corporations and they're not real progressives. They're not real progressives, right? That whole thing. Well, I say, if he wants to make a real progressive the chair of the DNC, nominate himself for it. Okay, so can we start that, guys? Because I guarantee you, if Cenk Uygur is chairing the Democrat National Convention going into November, it's going to be a landslide for Donald Trump. And so I am all here for it. But in all seriousness, today, Cenk Uygur did an interview with Piers Morgan where he was, again, counter-signaling Joe Biden, talking a lot about how the Democrats are completely delusional about the guy. And maybe if there was a serious primary challenge, you could say that he is trying to help out. But now that we are in a position where it really does look like Joe Biden's going to be the candidate unless they pull off some ridiculous antics, all that Cenk is doing at this point is undermining his own side. But we're all here for it. So take a listen.
We've talked about this before. This has to be a concern, doesn't it, for America?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually very depressing on a number of fronts, including that my side, the Democrats, have now become like MAGA. Sorry, Brian, I love you. I think you're a great guy, super smart. You lay out your case as well as anybody can lay it out. But we do all have eyes and ears. And the Democrats are starting to look like MAGA, denying that, you know, MAGA says, oh, Trump won the election in 2020. You have to be a lunatic to believe that. But if you think that Joe Biden is a secret dynamo behind the scenes, as the Democrats claim, you got to be borderline lunatic to believe that. No, the guy is in terrible, terrible shape. And if he has dementia, they get more stubborn. And so what if he digs in and he's like, I don't care. And his mind is actually affected by the ailments that we're seeing with our own eyes. So the Democrats have become so authoritarian that they're like, oh my God, what if Bernie Sanders wins? What if a progressive wins? Let's all bow our head to the mad king. And that's what he is at this point. So we have two mad kings running. One's a moron to begin with. Donald Trump's one of the dumbest people who's ever been in political office. And now his brain is melting too. He's saying, oh, you do look at Joe Biden, he has dementia. My doctor, Ronnie Johnson, he told me it's Ronnie Jackson. You idiot.
Yeah,
so
Cenk,
we have two blithering morons and people that are affected by mental ailments running for office.
But Cenk, here's the difference.
It's a deeply embarrassing moment for America.
And so obviously that rant was still full of the normal levels of the Trump derangement syndrome, but Cenk did really speak some truth there about Joe Biden. And the context here is that if you've been seeing over the past week, we pointed this out in our previous videos where I was saying, look, Joe Biden's mental state has been bad since the beginning, but it is getting visibly worse. You look at D-Day, you look at Juneteenth, you look at him freezing up constantly. We'll talk about some of that later in this video. This is hard to deny, but all that you're seeing from the Democrat pundits lately is they're trying to sweep it up. They're trying to say, no, that didn't happen. That obvious video that you saw, not real. Joe Biden's in perfect mental condition. And to Cenk Uygur's credit, at least he's being honest with himself, he stands around and says, no, like that's nonsense. That's just obviously not true. So, honestly, props to him for saying this. But in all seriousness, at the same time, don't really know if it helps his party, if that's who he's trying to help at the moment. But okay, let's keep listening here.
Difference. I've watched a lot of Trump recently. He rang me a couple of months ago. We had a long chat. And he sounded completely normal, exactly the same as he sounded when I did Celebrity Apprentice back in 2008. Honestly, he could have been exactly the same guy. Trump's never had a drink, never had a cigarette, never had a drug. For all that people think of him, he's still basically the same guy he's always been. Now, he free rolls.
I don't think so.
Well, hang on. Well, he free rolls in the way he speaks. And you can go back and watch him. I used to watch him over the boardroom on Apprentice night after night. And he'd say lots of stuff, and some of it wouldn't stack up to a fact check, and some of it didn't sound quite right. But I would say there's been no cognitive decline in Trump, that he's always been basically the same kind of guy. He's a little bit older, but when you think he's only 3 years younger than Biden, my God, I mean, the difference between the two of them. And as I thought Bill Ackman, the very good point he made, Warren Buffett's in his 90s. And he doesn't sound anything like the way Joe Biden does. It's not about his age; it's about his mental acuity. And I just think I tell you when the chickens come home to roost for everybody trying to defend this or trying to make some equivalence with Trump. June the 27th, these two guys are going to get on a stage in a live television debate that will break all records, I think, for ratings probably around the world. And you know what's going to happen over 90 minutes, however long it is? Donald Trump is going to take Joe Biden to pieces, and it's going to be utterly, utterly humiliating for the president because he has been protected so carefully in his term of office from this kind of thing. And when he gets exposed, honestly, Cenk, I think it's going to be utterly humiliating, and Trump will destroy it.
And just really quickly here, I think that's a good point by Piers, and this is something I've always said. It's not necessarily about Joe Biden's age. It's about the way his age is affecting him. It is the things we can visibly see from Biden. There are plenty of 80-year-olds, as Trump consistently brings up when he talks about this, that are just fine in the head. Now, that is a good strategy for Trump to employ, obviously, because he's close to Biden in age, so he can't exactly just say Joe Biden is too old. But on top of that, you got to consider there's a lot of senior citizens out here who vote. In fact, in terms of voter turnout, they're the highest turnout group of anyone. And so you don't want to just go out there and say, he's too old to run the country, because old voters might look and say, well, I'm a little offended by that. But obviously, yes, Joe Biden's mental state just not in a good place. So let's hear what Cenk Uygur has to say about it.
Piers, there's a reason why the debate is historically early. The debates are never before the convention. I think the Democrats put the debate before the convention so they'll have one last moment to try to talk Joe Biden out of this race. Because I disagree with you slightly on Trump. I think he's always had the lowest IQ of any human being that's ever been in public. But I think he's lost a couple of points. So he went from like a 20 to a 15. He's way, way below Biden. But I get it. He looks energetic. Biden looks like, I mean, come on, guys. The emperor has no clothes. They hate me for telling people that the emperor has no clothes, but my job is in news. We all can see how incredibly old he is. So my point is, for God's sake, pull him. If you don't pull him, we're going to lose to Trump. Why do you want to lose to Trump? Why do you want to give up 10 points? Hate me all you want. And every Democrat says it's my fault. It's people, oh, no, you shouldn't tell people reality. They already see it. You've got to pull him if you want to beat Trump. If you don't want to pull Joe Biden, you're saying, I don't mind losing to Trump. I don't mind losing democracy. All the things that I said about Trump, I don't actually mean it. I don't think it's a big deal if he wins. That's why I'm running this guy who cannot move or speak. It's absolute madness.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to come to Tom in a moment.
So there you had Cenk Uygur begging the DNC to pull Joe Biden out of the race for very obvious and understandable and frankly logical reasons if you're a Democrat. You know, at least he's honest with himself and not just sweeping it up for Biden like the rest of these pundits. However, I would say in response, Cenk, if you were so passionate about it, why did you suspend your fake presidential campaign against Biden so early? I mean, you were just so close to winning. No, but in all seriousness, I mean, good for Cenk saying this, but given the fact that, you know, very likely it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to replace Biden before the convention. And if they do, people forget this, they're going to have to, without, you know, violating their own diversity rules, replace him with Kamala Harris, who's even more unelectable. I mean, I don't know how much Cenk saying this is helping, but it is, like I said, you know, little right-wing asset here, helping undermine Biden and his candidacy. So it's hilarious and you love to see it. Now, we're going to be staying here on the topic of Cenk Uygur continuing to counter-signal Biden, but I got to shift gears a little bit so that I can provide the context. So over the weekend, you may have seen the video where Biden was at a fundraiser with Barack Obama and Jack Black, who was dressed like a literal circus clown and looked like he crawled out of a homeless shelter. But that's besides the point. Everyone is talking about this video where Biden clearly appears to freeze on stage. I mean, the guy just is standing there. Barack Obama has to usher him off. And notably, every single left-wing influencer at the same time, it's almost like they're in a group chat together, rushed to defend Joe Biden and say, what your eyes saw in that video are not real. This never happened. Biden didn't freeze. This was out of context. And check this out. Even today, the White House press secretary alleged that video and every video we've seen of Biden over the past week of him freezing, pooping his pants, all of this, they're all, in her own words, apparently deep fakes. Check it out.
Ironically, several recent cheap fakes actually attack the president for thanking troops. That is what they're attacking the president for. Both in Normandy, this happened, and again in Italy. And I think that it tells you everything that we need to know about how desperate Republicans are here. Instead of talking about the president's performance in office, and what I mean by that is his legislative wins, what he's been able to do for the American people across the country, we're seeing these deep fakes, these manipulated videos. And it is, again, done in bad faith.
So again, this is what all of the Democrat influencers are doing at the moment. They're sweeping it up. They are saying that what you're seeing with your own eyes is actually not real. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're spreading misinformation. Of course, most Democrat influencers, besides our guy, our little secret right-wing asset, Cenk Uygur, because he just goes out and speaks the truth. He responds to all these people and says, hilarious! This video conveniently pans out to okay, I'm not going to stop the voice here because it's just too hard. But he says, this video conveniently pans out to a wide shot when Biden is standing super awkwardly as the original video showed. Democrats are so blinded by their bias now that they think this proves that Biden looked fine. He looks terrible, and they zoom out at the worst part. So again, folks, here we have it. Cenk Uygur continuing to counter signal Biden. We love to see it. And we did play this in yesterday's video, but I might as well play it again since we're on the topic. Cenk Uygur lately also has called out Biden a lot over the Palestine stuff and is predicting that the Gaza issue may cost Joe Biden the election. So let's just play that again as a refresher.
The young in America have now flipped, and they're decent, moral, wonderful people who are supporting the civilians of Gaza. So the older people grew up on television, and television in America is a propaganda machine. They're not in the news business, they're in the marketing business. And so older people still believe the propaganda about how Israel is a moral army, which is, of course, if you know the truth, a tragic joke, right? So, but younger people grew up on social media. So now Biden has lost 30 points among younger people, and it's probably going to cost him the election. But just as Trump is almost a guaranteed victory because of what Biden is doing in Gaza, Trump comes along and says he'll set the peace movement back 25 or 30 years and that he would deport anyone who dares to protest against Israel. So Trump is even worse. So the powerful in America are still just as horrific as they have ever been. But a young cohort is rising up to challenge them.
So yeah, there you have it again. Cenk Uygur continually counter-signaling Joe Biden, helping Trump win. For the record, I don't think that's what he's necessarily trying to do. But like I said, our little unintentional right-wing asset here, yes, keep undermining the Democrat voter bases, especially the progressives. You know, the very side that is kind of disaffected with Biden at the moment. Keep undermining their trust, your audience's trust in Joe Biden, and see how much that helps Donald Trump in November. I cannot wait to see the results of that. With that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Do you think Cenk Uygur is unintentionally helping Donald Trump by doing this? Or is he maybe really onto something where the Dems really do something crazy and replace Biden after or during the convention? Let me know. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, Alpha Moves Only, God bless, have a very great rest of your day, and peace.